जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Radhe. Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai, Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Sudarshana. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacarya Ashtodhara Sat His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Lalita Vishakha Ki Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai Ki Jai Granth Raj Shri Srimad Bhagavatam की जय, श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग की जय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दीनतारिणम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। आराध्यो भगवान् व्रजेशतनयस्तद्धाम वृन्दावनम्। रम्या काचिदुपासना व्रजवधू वर्गेण या कल्पिता। श्रीमद्भागवतं प्रमाणममलं प्रेमापुमर्थो महान्। श्रीचैतन्यमहाप्रभोर्मतमिदं तत्रादर न परः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I hope you have all had a very blissful Kartik month with a lot of Krishna conscious activities, and you have experienced a lot of encouragement and advancement in your spiritual life. But Kartik month, as special as it is not the only time that we have to do devotional service. We also have to do it in the remaining 11 months. So Kartik month is like the battery charge, and it should enable us and inspire us and motivate us to do devotional service enthusiastically for the rest of the year also. Today and tomorrow I will be discussing the Brahma Vimohana Lila, which is described in the 13th and 14th chapters of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahma Vimohana Lila means that Lila or pastime in which Brahma, the creator of the universe, the secondary creator, the primary creator is of course the Supreme Lord Himself. So in this pastime, Brahma is bewildered, not just ordinarily surprised, but bewildered. Not just Mohana, but Vimohana. So Brahma is extremely bewildered. And please remember that Brahma is not an ordinary living entity. He is the most important living entity in the entire creation. He is the most intelligent person in the whole universe, apart from the Supreme Lord, of course. He is the first initiated disciple in the universe. He is the first Brahmana in the universe. His spiritual master and father is directly the Supreme Lord. And he performs a task which is impossible for any other jiva to do in this world, in this material universe. What is that? The creation of the universe itself, which means the various planetary systems and giving suitable bodies to all the living entities and awarding them places of residence that are appropriate to their karma of the previous lives. So according to what has happened in his previous day, after which there is Brahma's night, and in that time Brahma is asleep and the lower planets are all flooded. And then in the morning when Brahma wakes up, he again establishes creation in the lower planets. The higher planets are of course not affected, like Janalok, Tapalok, Maharlok, Satyalok, they are not affected. But the lower planets like the Earth planet are affected. So when the entire night is over and Brahma wakes up, he recreates everything. And then he makes sure that all the living entities who have been lying asleep for the night of Brahma, now they get suitable planets and bodies in which they can continue from where they left off in Brahma's previous day. Also remember, at the time of Brahma's death, after 100 years of his lifetime, his 100 years, not our 100 years, then the entire universe is destroyed. And when a new universe is created, there is a new Brahma, and he has to start completely from scratch. So this is the exalted nature of Brahma. His intelligence, his wisdom, his capability, his power. He is the source of the Vedas as a via medium on behalf of the Supreme Lord. Once he has been initiated, then he speaks the Vedas and creates so many disciplic successions here on earth. So just try to imagine how powerful and intelligent Brahma is. In fact, his body is pure intelligence. His body is not like our body. Even though it is material, but still it is very subtle, very fine. You see, the higher and higher that we go in the material world, to the higher and higher planets, the bodies become more and more subtle. From the earth planets, from planet upwards. Here our bodies are very gross. The earth element is very gross. Water element is very gross. Air element very gross. Everything is very gross here. Of course, the air element is subtler than the water element and the earth element, but still it is gross. But in the higher planets, everything becomes subtler and subtler. The demigods' bodies are not gross like ours, even though they are material bodies. And there is no difficulty in those bodies that we have in our bodies. For example, they don't perspire like us in the same way that we do. So there are many differences. The bodies are fragrant naturally. We have to take a bath. So imagine what kind of body Brahma has, the creator. He can visualize the entire universe like an amalaki fruit or a walnut that is kept in the palm of his hand. When something is kept in the palm of your hand, you are able to see it so clearly. You can examine it at close quarters. So Brahma is able to visualize and see everything in the universe in this manner. Just imagine. We have a hard time even seeing just a few feet away sometimes. Even in our video calls where technology is advanced, if the connectivity is not good, there is disturbance in the video or in the audio. So there is a great limitation on us to know things that are at a distance, or even if they are too close, we cannot see. But Brahmaji can see from Brahmaloka everything that is going on all over the universe. From the highest planet to the lowest planet, Brahma is aware of every nook and corner of the universe. And he can see it clearly as he can see something in his palm. The reason I'm giving all this introduction about Brahma rather than speaking about Krishna, I will come to Krishna in a minute, is because we will better get to appreciate who Krishna is. And also we will be in a better position to appreciate how tiny we are. So a personality like Brahma is thoroughly bewildered by Krishna in Vrindavan. And that too when Krishna is only 5 years old. Of course, for Krishna it doesn't make a difference whether he's 5 or 10 or 15, he's actually unlimitedly old. But still, he's supremely youthful. Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha, as Brahmaji himself said at another time when he spoke the Brahma Samhita. Srila Prabhupada explains in one of the purports that even though Brahmaji is so exalted, still because his body is material, even though it has come from the lotus flower, but that lotus is also material, therefore his body being material, he is also subject to the 4 defects that all of us are subjected to, like being under illusion, having imperfect senses and so on. So therefore Brahma, being such a great personality, he can get bewildered by Krishna at the age of 5. But for Krishna it doesn't matter. He can be at any age. He's ever youthful. And whether Krishna is a child or whether he is a Kaishor, he remains equally powerful. It is not that when Krishna was a baby and he killed Putana, he was any less strong because he was a baby than when he was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. In terms of potency, power, ability, there is no difference between Krishna as a baby and Krishna as a so-called adult. Krishna is, of course, eternally a Kishore, an adolescent pre-youth living in Goloka Vrindavan. That is his eternal form. He never grows older than that. When he comes to the material world, then he appears to be born and grow up just like an ordinary child. He goes through the motions of going through the childhood phase, which is called Balya Avastha, Kaumar also. Then he goes into the stage of boyhood, which is called Pauganda. After the age of 5 is complete, the Balyavastha Kaumara stage is over, then the Pauganda age starts at age 6. Then goes on till 10. Then age 10 to 15 is adolescence or pre-youth, the stage just before youth. And from 15, once it is completed, from the 16th year, the Yovana or the youth begins. So Krishna is eternally a youth, or rather a pre-adolescent youth, a Kishore, somewhere in his later part of the Kaishora age. So at all stages, because he is the Supreme Lord, there is no diminishing in his powers and abilities. So therefore, when we say that Krishna was only 5 years old when he bewildered Brahma, we should not get bewildered by that statement. Because whether Krishna is 5 or anything, he remains all powerful. So this is a beautiful pastime, very enchanting pastime. It is not as famous as perhaps the Govardhan Lila or the Rasa Lila, or maybe even the pastime of Krishna in the babyhood, stealing butter, etc. These are the pastimes that are more popular amongst the people in general, but only those who are sincere devotees of the Lord, who study and hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and who like especially the mood of Vrindavan, they will hear of this pastime, the Brahma Vimohana Lila. And the background for this pastime is quite interesting. You see, Kansa used to send many asuras or demons every single day to Vrindavan. And of course the idea was to kill Krishna. But Krishna would never get killed naturally. It is the asura who would get killed, and in the process he would get delivered because he was killed by Krishna. So one asura came in the guise of a snake, and his name was Aghasura. So this happened when Krishna was 5 years old, and he was still at that part of his Balyavastha. He had not yet touched 6. So this snake came, and we will not discuss that pastime in detail because we are going to discuss the next pastime of Brahma Vimohana Lila. But Krishna very easily killed Aghasura. And all the cowherd boys were blissful seeing Krishna, their dear friend, performing such a beautiful pastime. It's okay? Everyone can hear? So now, what happens is, in the end of the 12th chapter of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami explains that when Krishna was 5 years old, he killed Aghasura, and normally every day there was news reporting in the village. When the cowherd boys would return from the day's grazing of the calves, remember, they were not grazing the cows yet. Gopashtami festival had not happened yet. Krishna and the cowherd boys are still grazing the calves, not the cows. When they grow past 5, they touch 6, at that time they grow up, and then they are given a chance to herd the cows. So at this stage of 5, they are still herding the calves. So as they are herding the calves, and they kill, and the cowherd boys used to come back in the evening, and they would very eagerly, enthusiastically explain to their family members and the others in the village about the pastimes or activities that Krishna had done in the forest. Today Krishna, such and such demon came and he was looking like this, and Krishna killed him in this manner, and then we did these activities and we did that together with Krishna. So the consciousness of the cowherd boys was completely absorbed, immersed in Krishna. It was the perfection of their life to spend the whole day with Krishna. And they would come back and have the entire reporting. And in one place it is explained that there were professional poets who also lived in Braja. And every day when all these narrations came, all the news report came, evening edition of the newspaper, the poets would start formulating different types of reciting or composing different types of poems and songs about the pastimes that they had heard from these cowherd boys and also from the others. So this time, after Aghasura was killed, these boys did not speak about the killing of Aghasura. And not only that, they did not speak about this killing of Aghasura for 1 complete year. It's not that they forgot because there was something else that was important that happened and then they forgot to mention it. No, it wasn't a delay of 1 day or 2 days. It was a delay of 1 complete year. So naturally, Parikshit Maharaj is a very eager listener, the ideal Shrota or the listener of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The perfect combination of speaker and listener is Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. A fully qualified speaker, Shukadev Goswami, fully realized in Krishna consciousness. And Parikshit Maharaj is exhibiting the ideal characteristics of a person who should hear Krishna Katha. Yesterday in Mambalam, no? Name of the place, Mambalam, we were speaking on the topic of Shravanam, of how to hear. So Maharaj Parikshit is the epitome, the perfection of the perfect listener of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And sometimes what happens is the speaker tests the audience, whether they have actually heard or their mind was wandering or whether they were asleep. So he makes a statement which then makes a question arise in the mind of the audience. So he made a statement like this and continued. What was the statement? That this Leela of killing Aghasura happened at the age of 5 for Krishna, but it was revealed to the residents of Vrindavan after 1 year when Krishna entered the Pauganda age. And then he goes on to describe how Krishna went into the forest, they performed so many pastimes, this, that. And then naturally Parikshit Maharaj now has to ask the question. What is that question? Why the delay? Normally, you would not wait for so long. So what is it that was the cause of 1 year's delay? So that is the question or the point at which the 12th chapter of the 10th canto ends. And then the 13th chapter begins. Parikshit Maharaj is very keen to know the answer to this question. And he places himself as a very humble soul, even though, remember, he was the king of the entire earth. But in front of the spiritual master, he is always very humble. in front of Shukadev Goswami, who also was much younger than him. Shukadev Goswami was only 16 years old when this conversation happened. So he took a very humble position. And Shukadev Goswami became very pleased because first of all, Parikshit Maharaj was hearing very attentively. And number two, because he was hearing very attentively, he asked a very pertinent and relevant question. So had Parikshit Maharaj not asked that question, maybe Shukadev Goswami would have skipped and gone on. Maybe he would not. But he knew that Parikshit Maharaj, being an attentive listener, is going to ask that question. So you see, when narration of Krishna's pastimes happens nicely, the devoted listeners feel very happy. And when the speaker, he sees that the listeners are attentive, nobody is sleeping, and everybody is eager to know, and they ask very important, relevant questions. At that time, the speaker also feels delighted. He feels it is worth the while, and also there is so much rasa. So you see, this question-answer exchange is an exchange of devotional rasa between the speaker and the listener. If the speaker is qualified and the listener is qualified, that exchange becomes very sublime. And we see that here from the very beginning of the 13th chapter, where Shukadev Goswami starts off and says, Sadhu prishtam mahabhaga tvaya bhagavatottama yan nutana yasi ishasya shridman api katha muhuhu. He says, O my dear king, Mahabhaga, the most fortunate one, Tvaya Bhagavata Uttama. Bhagavat means a devotee of Bhagavat, Bhagavan. Uttama means the best. So Shukadev Goswami, the spiritual master, is addressing his disciple as Bhagavata Uttama, that you are most exalted devotee of Krishna, and you are also most fortunate. Sadhu Prishtam. Sadhu means very good. You see, in Vedic culture, when you want to appreciate what somebody has said or done, you say sadhu, sadhu. Nowadays they say so many things, hip hip hooray, many things they may say. But in Vedic culture they say sadhu, sadhu. So he said, Sadhu Prishtam. Very good question you have asked, O most fortunate one, O great devotee of the Lord. Yan nutana yasi ishasya shrinvan api katham muhuhu. Api means although. So katham muhuhu means repeatedly. So although you have been hearing Krishna Katha repeatedly for a long time, for many days, remember, we are in 13th chapter of 10th canto, and Parikshit Maharaj has already heard all the 9 cantos plus 12 chapters of the 10th canto. So he has been hearing for a long time, without complaint, without sleep, without fatigue, without thirst, without hunger, without boredom, without distraction. So naturally Shukadev Goswami is extremely pleased. And he is also marveling. Just see the qualities of my disciple, of this great devotee. Api katha muhuhu. Even though you have been hearing Krishna Katha for so long, still shrinman api katha muhuhu nutana yasi ishasya. You are making the topics of Isha, or the Supreme Lord, Ishasya, Nutana yasi, you're making them as if they are fresh. So it appears that you are perceiving the activities of Lord Krishna to be ever fresh. And indeed, that is the case. The activities of Krishna are always fresh because Krishna is always fresh. He is an ever youthful youth whose beauty, whose qualities never diminish with time and circumstance. So elsewhere also in the Bhagavatam, Krishna Katha has been described as Nitya Navanavayamana, ever fresh. We can go on discussing the same pastimes of Krishna without feeling bored. So Shukadev Goswami is appreciating this quality in Parikshit Maharaj. And he says, Satam ayam sara bhritam nisargo yad arthavani shruta chetasam api. He says Paramahamsas, that means those who are like supreme swans. They are transcendental swans because they know how to extract the spiritual essence from whatever they hear and see and experience in this world. As we were discussing at the program yesterday, a swan has the legendary capability to extract milk from a mixture of milk and water. So the great saintly persons, those who are very elevated in spiritual consciousness, are also able to have such a high sense of discrimination that they can distinguish between the essence of something and that which is not the essence. So the essence of everything in creation is Krishna and Krishna consciousness. So one who has this consciousness is called Paramahamsa. So, and the aim of their life, Shukadev Goswami says, is only to talk of Krishna's pastimes as if they are newer and newer. And they are as attached to these topics as the materialistic people are to materialistic topics. In this way, Shukadev Goswami then continues and says, Shinusva avahitaha rajan api guhyam vadamite. Shinusva means please hear me. Avahitaha, with great attention, O King Rajan, api guhyam vadamite. Now I am going to tell you something very guhya. Guhya means confidential, something very secret. Bruyuhu snigdhasya shishyasya guruvo guhyam pyuta. And why is this confidential? Because ordinary people are not entitled or qualified to hear this. It is not that everyone can hear the confidential aspects of Krishna's pastimes. For the general public, it should be prasadam distribution, Harinam Sankirtan. This is what Srila Prabhupada said. And for those who are a little more faithful, you read and hear about Krishna's pastimes gradually, step by step. So now I'm going to tell you something very confidential, Shukadev Goswami says. And because you are snigdha and you are shishya, because you are very submissive and you are my disciple, therefore I will reveal the confidential reason for why the pastime of the killing of Aghasura was revealed only after 1 complete year. And now Shukadev Goswami begins to narrate that pastime. He says that after the boys, cowherd boys, had been saved from Aghasura, and Krishna had himself killed Aghasura, Krishna brought all the boys to the banks of the Yamuna. You see, the Yamuna is a very beautiful river, or at least it was a very beautiful river at one point, even from the external point of view. From a spiritual point of view, Yamuna is always transcendental and beautiful for those who have the eyes and the heart to see and perceive her. But externally, you may have all seen in the press or in the newspapers and so on, that the Yamuna is now filled with toxic fumes from all the factories and the sewage that is disposed in the Yamuna. And it is very dangerous for people to bathe in it now. What to speak of drink that water. But still many people went. So this became a headline news because the medical authorities were very worried that there will be an outbreak of epidemic because large numbers of people are going to bathe in the Yamuna, despite the fact that it is so poisoned now with all these chemicals. We have all our modern day kaliyas. There was only one Kaliya in those days who poisoned the waters of the Yamuna. Today we have millions of Kaliyas. So what we need are many devotees of Krishna who will go and oppose this and purify this and make sure that these things don't happen, that our holy rivers like the Yamuna, which has such an important role to play in the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, that they are protected and that their purity and dignity is maintained. In any case, so the Yamuna river was very, very beautiful, and he brings them to this particular place here on the bank of the Yamuna river, and he makes them sit there. Please remember, Parikshit Maharaj is now even more attentive. Now that Shukadev Goswami has told him, I am going to tell you something very confidential. You know, when you really want to know the answer to a question, you are eager to know and you ask, and the right person is going to reveal it to you, you are immediately more attentive. Your body language and everything it changes. So that is the nature of pure devotees who are attached to hearing and chanting about Krishna. The sages of Naimisharanya, they want to know more and more from Suta Goswami. Remember, it is Suta Goswami who is narrating what Shukadev Goswami has been speaking to Raja Parikshit. So the sages who speak to Suta Goswami, they say, Vayam tu na vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yach srinvatam rasajnanam swadu swadu pade pade. He says, O Suta Goswami, you know, we are relishing this. Vayam tu na vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame. Uttama shloka is Krishna, who is glorified in the best shlokas and poetry and descriptions. Vikrama refers to the adventurous activities. So we never tire of hearing of the adventurous activities of Krishna. And he says, Yat Shrinvatam Rasajnanam Swadu Swadu Pade Pade. So those who have developed a taste for hearing about Krishna, they never tire. On the contrary, they experience rasa, sweet taste at every step. So this is the nature of Krishna Katha. And this is the quality of Maharaj Parikshit. So, after having brought them to the bank of the river, he says, Aho, ati ramyam pulinam vayasyaha. He says, Oh vayasyaha. Vayasya refers to one who are of the same age, roughly. So they are friends. So he says, my dear friends, see, aho, just see, oh, just look at this. Ati ramyam pulinam. Very, very beautiful bank of the river. So Krishna now is taking his friends away from that scene of that horrible snake being killed. His dead body is lying there. Yes? So who wants to sit there and do a picnic? It's not a pleasant place. So Krishna wants to bring his friends away from there and come to the bank of the Yamuna, which is very scenic. So, aho, ati ramya, ati ramyam. Ramya means very enchanting, very pleasing, very beautiful. So, he says, come, just see how beautiful this is. Svakeli sampannam mridulaksha balukam. He said, this is just perfect for our pastimes. And just see how there are so many blooming lotuses here. And these lotuses are attracting all kinds of bees and birds. And not only that, the sand over here is very clean and very soft. It is an ideal place for us to sit and have a picnic. And we can have many of our play here. Swakeli. Keli means pastime. So we can have many of our pastimes over here. Srila Prabhupada explains a bit about this in the purport. The 13th chapter, incidentally, is the last chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam to which Srila Prabhupada personally wrote purports. After the 13th chapter was over, he could not go further because he really fell ill and then he departed from this world. So his disciples took over that task and they continued from chapter 14 onwards. So this is the last chapter in which Srila Prabhupada's purports are there. So Srila Prabhupada mentions here that the description of Vrindavan given by Shukadev Goswami here in the Srimad Bhagavatam is a place that is so beautiful, and that even during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's visit and the Goswami is going there to live, Vrindavan was always like that. As we hear in the Shad Goswami Ashtakam, Kujat kokila hansa sarasagana kiyane mayura kule. So there were so many beautiful birds. Kujata kokila. Kujat means the cooing. So in Vrindavan, you can always hear the cooing of the cuckoos. Kokila means the cuckoos. Hansa, Sarasa, swan, and these other cranes. And you can hear them also making their own sounds, and so many beautiful peacocks. And there are beautiful desire trees that have jewels at the base of their roots. So Prabhupada was saying that this is the description that the 6 Goswamis give of Vrindavan. And even till a few years ago, Vrindavan used to be full with the birds, chirping of birds and the cuckoos and peacocks and so on. Today, these birds are still there in Vrindavan, but they have largely been driven away because we have commercialized it so much and the population of Vrindavan has increased so much that there is hardly any place left for the birds and animals of Vrindavan to remain there. So in any case, nowadays we have different types of asuras there with the huge machines and people coming and going, huge crowds. So the external aspect of Vrindavan today in 2024 is quite different from when Srila Prabhupada went there also. One of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada mentioned that when they went there in the early 70s, at that time Vrindavan was completely almost like what is described here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So beautiful, so pristine and sublime. You didn't see all the traffic jams and you didn't see the shouting and screaming and the rickshawalas and all of that. It was the very few people used to come there, and even in the place where our Krishna Balaram Mandir is at present, in front of that were open fields where peacocks would come, the cuckoos would come. Nowadays, of course, it has all become commercially filled. So Krishna has brought his friends to this most ideal picnic spot. And he says, Atra bhoktavyam asmabhihi diva arudham kshudha arditaha. He says, Atra bhoktavyam, at this place it is suitable for taking our prasadam, for eating our lunch. Asmabhihi, by us. Diva arudham, because it's quite late now. So more than 3 hours must have elapsed. For adults, generally, you have a prescribed time gap. You must eat at least after 5 hours, 6 hours, not too much, not too soon. But children need shorter time gaps. They can eat in 3 hours again. So more than 3 hours must have elapsed, one Acharya has commented. So Krishna and the cowherd boys were all feeling hungry. So Krishna, and he had some wonderful pastimes, some nice exercises and all that, killing a Ghasura. So now the time had come for the picnic. So he said, it is getting late, so let us sit here. Vatsaha samipe pahabitva charantu shanakahitrinam. So Vatsaha, so our calves, samipe apahapitva. So let our calves drink water of the Yamuna nearby, samipe. They were cautious that the calves should not go far away, because otherwise, they may be dangerous animals in the forest, they may get lost in the forest. So the calves and the cows were the wealth of the Brajavasis. Srila Prabhupada many times has explained, Gavayo dhanavan dhanya dhanavan. One who has cows and who has grains is truly wealthy. Wealth is not seen to be only in terms of plastic money, how much you have credit card and how much is there in your balance in the bank. But actually, how many cows you have, and whether you get pure milk and ghee and butter from that, and eat wonderful delicious food, and dhanya, that means grains, and various types of other edible items. So he said the cow should go out and drink water, charantu shanakahitrinam, and let them shanakahi, slowly, let the cows graze in the delicious succulent grass that is all around here. So in our mind we can just visualize beautiful Yamuna flowing, the sandy banks of the river with beautiful trees, the birds chirping, and also a little further in, a lot of green succulent grass. Krishna is there with the cowherd boys, and the cows are going here and there nearby eating the grass. They have just begun eating grass. They have just graduated from suckling their mother's milk, and they have been slowly, because they have grown up a little bit, now they have started eating grass. So they were moving around. So Krishna says, so this is the perfect spot for us to sit. So naturally, all the cowherd boys happily accepted Krishna's proposal, and they allowed the calves to drink water from the river nearby, and then they all sat down and opened their baskets. What baskets? The tiffin. I think here you call it tiffin in Chennai, isn't it? The tiffin boxes they opened, because the mother of each boy had sent a basket which they had put in many food items, some delicacies. Just like the mothers, when they send their children to school, they pack their tiffin boxes and send them. So similarly, the mothers of these cowherd boys also had given them food baskets. So please tell me when the time is over. Then we'll continue tomorrow also. Okay? So Shukadev Goswami continues. By the way, I'm looking, where is that picture? I think it's up in the temple. Do you all remember that beautiful painting of Krishna sitting in the center and all the cowherd boys sitting around him in circles, and they're all eating and honoring, or rather partaking of their food? How many of you have seen that picture, that painting? I think everybody has seen. So that picture is exactly what is described in this verse here. So all those paintings actually are based on certain verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here, Shukadev Goswami says, Krishnasya Vishvak, surrounding Krishna, Pururaji Mandalaihi. So, surrounding Krishna, they sat different rows, sitting in circles. First, the inner row of those who are very, very intimate friends of Krishna, like Sridama, Sudama, Subal, etc. Then the next circle outside, the little less intimate friends. All were very loving. They were all pure devotees. All loved Krishna and Krishna loved them. But still, some were more intimate. For those of you who want more information, you can look at chapter 41 of the Nectar of Devotion, and you'll find a description by Rupa Goswami of the variety of cowherd boys who were the friends of Krishna. So anyway, so in extending circles, these boys sat around Pururaja Mandalaihi. Abhyananaha, Abhya Ananaha, which means all the boys, but their body language was, they were leaning forward like this. Why? Because they were gazing at Krishna. Krishna was in the center, and all these cowherd boys were sitting in extending circles around Krishna. And these boys were all eagerly looking forward to Krishna. They all had a very innocent and pure, friendly love for Krishna. And as they were sitting around, it has also been explained by some of our acharyas that the scene resembled Indra sitting there surrounded by the demigods, or the whirl of a flower or a lotus being surrounded by all the petals. So Krishna was sitting there relishing the company of his cowherd boys, friends. Pulla Drisho. Pulla Drishaha means their faces were looking very bright and happy. Why? Why were the faces looking happy and bright? Because they were with Krishna and they were looking at Krishna. They were in the personal company of Krishna and they were personally looking at Krishna face to face, so close. So Pulla Drisha, so they were leaning forward and looking at Krishna. Vraja Arbhakaha. Arbhaka means a child. Arbhakaha, the plural. Vraja means the boys of Vraja. So this is what they were doing. Sahopavishta vipine virejuhu chada yatham boruha karnikayaha. So Shukadev Goswami explains that Krishna was looking very beautiful there as like a lotus, the whirl of a lotus, and surrounded by the petals. And all the boys were eagerly looking forward to see Krishna more clearly. And now this particular scene is a very remarkable scene, and not only is it a beautiful scene for a picture and a painting that we have seen, it is also illustrating many important devotionally philosophical points. You see, it is explained that every boy who was sitting in that assembly was thinking, Krishna is looking at me. Now, is that possible from ordinary point of view? Let's say you are sitting facing me and somebody is sitting behind you. You cannot sit them. But if I am looking at you here, then I cannot be seeing you at the same time in another corner. And there were people all around, boys were all around Krishna. So Krishna was seeing, as per the vision of the boys, every boy felt Krishna is sitting facing me and he is looking at me alone. This is how Krishna can fulfill the desires, the devotional desires of every devotee. You see, that is not possible for any other living entity. Even Brahma or great personalities like that cannot satisfy everybody. You see, in this world also we all have experience. You can satisfy one person, two people, three people, but you can't satisfy everyone. You try to satisfy somebody, another person is upset. You're giving too much time there, you're not giving time to me. You give time to the second person, third person is upset. Isn't it? That is the way it is, because as human beings, we have limitations of time, energy, everything. We cannot satisfy everybody at the same time. We cannot expand ourselves and be present everywhere to please everyone. So naturally some people are disturbed, some people are happy for the time being, but sooner they will also get disturbed. But for Krishna, because he is omnipresent, he is everywhere, and because he is Bhakta Vatsala, he is very affectionate to his devotees. So by his Yogamaya potency, every single cowherd boy felt that Krishna was looking at him alone. And there was a very wonderful exchange of friendly love between the cowherd boy concerned and Krishna. And there were not just a few, 5 or 10 cowherd boys, they were in thousands, in large numbers. And this was the scene there. So this was one point. Also we see similar thing happening in the later pastimes of Krishna, especially the Rasa Lila. where Krishna danced with every single gopi, and every gopi felt that Krishna is dancing only with me and nobody else. Also, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was doing Nama Sankirtan during the Rath Yatra procession, and there were 7 groups, some in front of the Rath, some on the side and some behind. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going from one group to the other group, and every group felt that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was only in their group and not in any other group. So only the Supreme Personality of Godhead can satisfy everyone in that way. So this was what was happening over here. Krishna was sitting in the center, and everybody was so happy that they were with Krishna, all the cowherd boys. So very sweet exchange. You can visualize this. And as they sat there, they started eating, and that is described here. And this is what is going to bewilder somebody sitting very high up in the high planets, in the topmost planet of the universe. You see, Brahma had already been bewildered when he saw Krishna killing Aghasura effortlessly. And he was thinking, this little cowherd boy, how come he has killed a gigantic monster like this Aghasura? And then just after he had finished that, and now he comes and sees that this Gopal, this cowherd boy, is sitting here surrounded by his friends, and he's having a picnic. Now Brahma's body language changes. Now he is looking forward and saying, what is going on? Let me examine this scene very carefully. He sees, okay, what is this now? What is happening here in Vrindavan? So what is going on there on the bank of the Yamuna? Shukadev Goswami describes that among the cowherd boys, some placed their lunch on flowers, some on leaves, some on fruits, some kept it in their baskets, some kept it on some rocks, some kept it on the barks of trees. So you don't actually need plates and cups and so many things. You see, many times you see when we are in our devotees who live in our farm project, if you drink water, they will certainly go and get a leaf from one of the palash trees or something nearby and take a twig of that and just fold it and pierce it and make a cup, and you can drink water nicely from that. You have some food, some prasadam, they will immediately take a leaf, wash it, it's a beautiful plate. So the cowherd boys, they did not carry their plates and cups and all that. They had the baskets. So anyway, they were enjoying their picnic. Somebody spoiling our picnic. Where is that coming from? Yeah, yesterday we were just saying how we must be so careful about our mobile phones not playing or not ringing during the Krishna Katha. So this is what the children imagined to be their plates as they ate their lunch, Shukadev Goswami says. And then Shukadev Goswami describes the very nectarian dealings amongst the boys with each other. And one boy will tell Krishna, Krishna, see what my mother has sent me. You taste this, it's so nice. And Krishna tastes it and he says, this is delicious. Then another boy will tell a third boy, you taste this, my mother has brought this. And so all the boys are exchanging whatever they have received from their mothers. And they all eat from their own basket and from each other's baskets. And they happily share with Krishna also. And Krishna is not at all embarrassed to eat the remnants of their food. But we should not give Krishna our remnants. We should take Krishna's remnants. What the Brajavasis can do, they can do. We cannot imitate them. We have to be very cautious. And we have to treat Mahaprasadam with utmost respect. And therefore, we don't say we are eating prasadam, we say we are honoring prasadam. Because we recognize that this is transcendental food, non-different from Krishna. So this was going on. Just imagine this scene now. This eating is going on everywhere, and everyone is sharing. So even in Krishna's mouth, one cowherd boy is taking his food that he has already half eaten perhaps, and he's putting it in Krishna's mouth. And then Krishna is taking some food and putting it in another boy's mouth. In this way, the little boys, they're only 5 years old, remember. So they are enjoying themselves sitting there. And sometimes they tease each other also. And in this way, these pastimes are going on. And they ate with the left hand and right hand. And generally, we are not supposed to eat with the left hand. We are supposed to eat only with the right hand. Yes? But these are boys, little children, so they are eating with both hands. And even Krishna is the main culprit, because he has his left hand full. So it is explained here in the next verse as to what it is that Krishna was eating. What was in Krishna's palm, in his left palm. So they were joking, laughing, eating. Yes, just visualize this scene in your mind that is going on the banks of the Yamuna, and Krishna is there with the cowherd boys. So, in the next shloka, Shukadev Goswami explains that Vame, in the left hand, Krishna had some curd rice with some pieces of fruit on that. And in another Acharya's comment, it is said, in the right hand, he had some pickle. So they are all eating like this in whatever way they can. As you know, boys, little boys, they will not have the proper etiquette how to eat. So they will eat anything anyway. So Krishna was also eating like this. So all this was going on. And so indeed, there was so much fun there. All the boys were enjoying. At one place it is mentioned that somebody had some buttermilk, and he was drinking buttermilk, and he had blown up his cheek, so his mouth was full of the buttermilk. And then Krishna wants to have that buttermilk, so he goes to that boy and he puts his fingers like that on that boy's cheeks. So naturally the buttermilk comes out, and Krishna wants to drink that buttermilk. So inasmuch as the devotees are keen to have the Mahaprasadam of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan and not anywhere else in the entire creation, does Krishna also take the Mahaprasadam of his devotees. Not even in Vaikuntha, not in Dwarka, not anywhere else. This is the special scene that happens in Vrindavan, and Vrindavan alone. So, then in the 11th verse, Shukadev Goswami is explaining this. How does Krishna appear as he's sitting there? He has his pitambar, his yellow colored or golden colored dhoti, and he also has a belt of cloth that he ties around his waist. So for those of you who sometimes are there on the altar, or even if you're not outside the altar actually, say there's Abhishek, etc., and for the men who are only in the dhoti and perhaps just in uttariya, it is a standard practice to also wear a cloth around the waist and tie it like a belt, so it goes a little further down. So that is also what Krishna was wearing here. And then Shukadev Goswami says that on his right side, he had tucked in his flute between the waist and the belt. And on the other side, his horn bugle and cowherding stick were dangling from that side. These are the paraphernalia of a cowherd boy. So Krishna was holding all this, and in his left hand, he had this nice preparation of curd rice and some fruit also. And they were all joking with each other, and they were jubilant sitting there. Meanwhile, Krishna was also joking. Srila Prabhupada mentions here that one bumblebee came when all the boys were taking prasadam. So when Krishna saw the bumblebee, he told the bumblebee, "So why have you come here, O bumblebee, to disturb my Brahmana friend Madhumangal? You want to kill a Brahmana? That is not good at all." So all the boys started laughing. Of course, the bumblebee then went away. So in this way, as little boys speak to each other and they joke. So, and when one jokes, everybody bursts out in laughter. So this was going on there. Now you can imagine the plight of Brahma, who is watching this from his abode. He has already been surprised by Aghasur, by his behavior, by the killing of Aghasur. And now he's seeing this kind of a picnic going on. And he's thinking, what is going on here? And when he sees the fruit and the curd rice and all that Krishna is eating, this cowherd boy is eating, he is really astonished. Shukadev Goswami refers to Krishna as Yajna Bhuk here. Yajna Bhuk means one who is accustomed to taking the remnants, or rather the offerings of Yajna. So that is very opulent, because the residents of the higher planets come and offer various types of very opulent foodstuffs in Yajna. And Krishna, the Supreme Lord Vishnu, accepts only such opulent offerings. So he is Yajna Bhuk. But he says, Yajna Bhuk Balakelihi. That Yajna Bhuk who accepts only opulent offerings in Yajna is now doing Balakeli, childhood pastimes. And this was bewildering. And in the Garga Samhita, Garga Rishi is explaining what Brahma was thinking. Harihi yadi syad bahu kutsit anne katham ratha. Harihi yadi syat, if this is generally actually Hari, katham ratha, how is it that he is eating bahu kutsita anna, very ordinary food, which is meant for ordinary folks. Curd rice is a very simple food. But the Yajna Bhuk who accepts opulent offerings is not expected to eat this kind of Yajna curd rice. You must have something very grand. Or he says, Va Vraja Gopa Balayhi. Or is he really Hari, the Supreme Lord? Or is he perhaps just a cowherd boy in Vraja, in Vrindavan? So Brahma is confused about the identity of this blue-colored cowherd boy who is enjoying picnic pastimes with his friends on the bank of the Yamuna in Vrindavan. So Brahma is not able to understand. He thinks he is Hari, but he thinks also maybe not also. Let me test him out. Is he really Hari? Perhaps he is. Because everybody is saying so. We are hearing that this is Hari. So maybe he is actually Hari. So Brahma is thinking. Remember, Brahma is not one to get easily confused. Such an intelligent person, so wise, knows all the Shastras, knows all the Vedas. He is not confused about anything. The only time he was confused is when he was just born, or when he begins his new day. He doesn't know what to do at the beginning of his life. Actually, not the end of the day, but the beginning of life. That is when he sits in tapasya, and then the Lord comes and guides him. So in any case, Brahma is somewhat confused about this. So at that time, Brahma is not able to figure out what is what. So he is thinking, maybe I should just see what he is doing here. Let me examine this further. You know, pastimes of Krishna are very bewildering to those who are not devotees. The pastimes of Krishna can be understood only with the heart of devotion, not simply by any academic scholarship, and certainly not by any antagonistic or hostile attitude towards Krishna. It requires a faithful person to understand Krishna's pastimes. So, before we understand the Leela, we must understand the Tattva. Tattva means the philosophy, the truth behind Krishna. Who is Krishna? That must be understood first. So, Kunti Maharani, in her prayers, has said, Maya javanikachannam ajnadhokshajam avyayam na lakshase muradrisha nato natya tharo yatha. In her beautiful prayers to Lord Krishna, Kunti Maharani says, my dear Lord, you cover the eyes of the citizens or the people of this world with the javanika, the curtain. Achannam, you cover it with your Maya energy, your internal energy. Maya javanikachannam agya adhokshajam avyayam. You are adhokshaja, beyond the material senses. You are avyaya. You are indestructible. You are eternal. But for those who are agya, who are not knowledgeable, who don't have the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, you cover their eyes with the curtain, javanika, of Maya. And therefore, na lakshase mudhadrisha. And therefore, these ignorant people, their vision is destroyed, so they cannot see you. They cannot understand who you are, even if they see you. Nato natya tharo yatha. Just as when an actor puts on a costume and then acts on a stage with lot of makeup and so many things, many people can't recognize who that person is. So similarly, when Krishna comes into this world to perform pastimes, Shukadev goes, or Kunti Maharani explains, that most people can't recognize. Those who are mudha, those who are ignorant, cannot understand Krishna's pastimes. Now here, Kunti Maharani is referring essentially to the atheistic type of people. That is what Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. But here remember, Brahma is not an atheist. Brahma is not ignorant. He is supremely wise as far as the universe is concerned. But still there is one thing he does not know. And that is the mood of Vrindavan. He has not yet been exposed to that. And now he will start getting exposed to this most extraordinary experience of seeing Vrindavan and the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. So this was the only thing that Brahma does not know yet. So there is some little confusion there. And as Brahma is watching, these boys continue to enjoy. And Shukadev Goswami says that while the cowherd boys, who knew nothing within the core of their hearts but Krishna, were thus engaged in eating their lunch in the forest, the calves went far away, deep in the forest, being allured by green grass. And this now sparked off this beautiful pastime that happened. And if you want to really know what happened after this, then you have to come here tomorrow. At what time, Ranga Krishna Prabhu? 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. IST. IST means if it's 10, then 11. No? It up like that? No. 10 means 10. Dashavadane. So please come at 10 o'clock if you want to know what happens after this. Because if you miss the early part, the link will be lost. You will not know what happens immediately after this when the calves, they wander away into the forest and the cowherd boys realize, oh, where have our calves gone? They become alarmed. And then what happens after that, we will discuss at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So we'll have festival now? Tulsi? Okay, so any questions about what we have discussed so far? Please ask questions that are connected to whatever we have discussed today. Not general questions about Krishna consciousness, but relevant to today's topic. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for the wonderful discussion this past time. I have a question on the last point which you mentioned. You mentioned that Brahma don't know about the mood of Vrindavan. But we hear from the description of Bhagavatam that it is the description in the first day of Brahma, and we also know that every day, once in the ISKCON Lila cycle, Krishna appears. So you would have seen Krishna as Vrindavan even earlier also. So how we can understand this point that we don't know the don't know the mood of Vrindavan?
Srila Prabhupada answers this question, that why is it that Brahma got bewildered? I spoke about it briefly at the beginning of the talk. Prabhupada says that Brahma is born from a lotus, and therefore we consider his birth extraordinary. But it is still a material birth. And because the lotus is material, his birth is material, therefore Brahma also is subject to the defects that we conditioned souls have. Although Brahma is definitely in a very, very superior position to us, but nevertheless, he can also get sometimes forgetful. So because of that, Brahma has not been able to relate to this, and he doesn't know. Or we can say perhaps Brahma is put into that situation so that these kind of pastimes can happen. Because Brahma has also composed the Brahma Samhita, and as you rightly said, this pastime in Vrindavan happens in every day of Brahma, and Brahma is not one day old now. Brahma, this is the first day of the 51st year of Brahma. So he has been seeing it every day for the last 50 years. But somehow it has escaped his memory. So he is not able to recall. So he is in doubt. Who is this boy? Va Vraja Gopabalaihi. Is he Gopabala here from Vraja? Or is he Harihi Yadi Syad? Is he Hari? Who is this boy? So finally he concludes that this is Hari, but he still wants to test him. And that we will hear tomorrow.
You said that Krishna is always in the Kishore, was 16-year-old boy. Here he is a small boy. So in Golok Vrindavan is he present as a small boy, like doing passports or in 16 years?
Yeah, good question. So generally, as is described by our Shastras and our Acharyas, in Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna exists eternally as a Kaishora, Nitya Kishora. And so in those pastimes, like for example, there are many pastimes that Krishna does not perform actively in the spiritual world. There are some pastimes called Nitya Lila, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, which happen in the spiritual world, and when Krishna descends here, those Nitya Lilas also happen here. But there are some pastimes that are called Naimittika pastimes, Leelas, which generally are not actively manifested in the spiritual world in the way that they are manifested here. There is only some vague remembrance or memory that asuras will come or had come, but it is not actively manifest. So like that, there may be some vague recollection, Krishna was a baby, he was born, but actively this kind of leelas are not performed. So therefore, do you see how important the material world is? Even for Krishna's pastimes. So he performs these pastimes here. So the opportunity for Krishna to be a child is here in the material world. Also, another reason is, it is only in the material world that everybody approaches Krishna, give me this, give me this, give me this. So Krishna says, I am tired of this, now I will become a child and I will approach my devotees and I'll say, give me this, give me this, give me this. So then he becomes a child, and as a child he can demand anything. So these are the reasons why, of course, Krishna performs these pastimes. He wants to relish Vatsalya Ras. As Bhanu Maharaj was explaining in the morning class today, that the Balya age, Kaumara age, is especially relevant for the exchange of Vatsalya Ras. The Vatsalya Ras is most prominent in this age. So Krishna wants to relish that also. And as he moves into Pauganda, the Sakhya Ras becomes more prominent. So now Krishna wants to play and play and play. And then as he goes into Kaishora, then the Madhurya Ras becomes most prominent. Like that. Any other question? One final question? Yes. Mic over there, please. You have a question? Okay. So, Mataji's side, that side. Hare Krishna. Not Antakaliya Lila, Ashtakaliya Lila. Ashtakaliya Lila, you see, these are pastimes that Krishna performs in Goloka Vrindavan in the spiritual world. Now, there also you have a division of time of 24 hours, and they divided into prahara, 3 hours. So each prahara goes for 3 hours, where a particular type of pastime is performed depending on the time of the day or night it is. So, because there are 8 such divisions of praharas, it is called Ashta Kaliya Lila. Kali means the time. So, these 8 divisions of time, and there are different types of pastimes performed by Krishna in those times. So, there's some time when he wakes up, that time when he goes to sleep. There is another period when he will do the Ras Leela or other pastimes with the gopis. There are times when he will go to the forest to graze the cows, like that. So the entire 24 hours is divided into these 8 divisions. Okay? Yes, another question? I didn't understand. Can you? 84 lakh species.
Brahma's created. On which type of karma will these species exist?
Which type of karma? Of course, that's a slightly different topic. It goes into the topic of karma and everything. But suffice it to say at this time that according to the different types of karma, it will take a lot of time to discuss. But suffice it to say that different species of life exist to cater to the reactions of different varieties of karmas. If somebody has been very envious of people, always abusing others, always criticizing others, then get the body of a snake. A snake is generally envious. There are some varieties of snakes that will bite for no reason. So that is just one example. So there are many things, but it's a different topic slightly. So we'll not talk more on this at the moment. Okay?